probably the first time, like every summer I come back, it's like hitting me pretty hard. It's like, this is where I did it. This is where I killed her. It's bad because you know you can't undo it. It's like, man, I really screwed this up.
This guy is named Harrison Capel. A few months back, I got a fascinating and somewhat bittersweet email from Harrison with the subject, Inquiry Saving a Blastoise's Life. He wrote, "When I was a kid, I was a major Pokemon nerd. I played my copy of Leaf Green until the buttons wore out on my Game Boy, and my most precious Pokemon was my Blastoise. In 2007, I made a grave mistake. I abused an action replay on my important save file. I didn't know what I was doing as I was only 7, but somehow, with some combination of cheats, I raised my Blastoise's level well beyond what it was supposed to be, at most 100. Upon rebooting my game, she was gone, replaced by a bad egg. I tried everything. I hatched the egg, I tried more cheats, but nothing worked. I wrote her off for as good as dead for over a decade, but recently I've begun to wonder if resurrecting my beloved partner could be possible. I don't know if you can help, but after watching hours of your work in preserving McDonald's games and Domino's apps, I figured you might be the right guy for the job. Let me know if you can help. Best, Harrison." This idea really intrigued me, especially because, as it so happens, I had a childhood experience very similar to Harrison's. So one day when I was about 8 or 9 years old, I found myself standing around outside, really bored, waiting for my brother's soccer game to wrap up. And as a kid, I was a huge Pokemon fan. I had just gotten a copy of Pokemon Blue version for Christmas, and I was playing it every single day. But on this particular day, I had borrowed a Game Shark from a friend, and I was messing around with a bunch of cheat codes I'd found on the internet. And I keep adding more and more of these codes, until eventually something really bizarre happens. At one point, I'm walking through some tall grass, and a wild Lieutenant Surge appears. Like, the gym leader appears in the tall grass as though he was a Pokemon. And clearly something is going horribly wrong here, but the idea of fighting and maybe even capturing this feral adult man was hilarious to me, so of course, I battled him. And the battle had barely even started when he uses an attack called TM05. And instantly the game freezes and won't respond to any of my inputs. And I think, oh well, I guess the game's just crashed. So I turn it off and turn it on again. And for the first time since I got the game on Christmas morning, the title screen says New Game. The continue option is gone. I start panicking, and I start trying everything. I try taking out the Game Shark and putting the cartridge in directly. I try blowing into the cartridge. I turn the Game Boy off and on again hundreds of times, over and over, and every single time, it just says New Game. And quickly it dawns on me that all of my work, my save file, all of my badges, my team of Pokemon, including my favorite Pokemon Dugtrio, all at once, in the blink of an eye, every Pokemon I had ever captured was dead. I was devastated. So it probably goes without saying that because of that traumatic childhood Pokemon memory, I really wanted to help Harrison bring his long-lost Blastoise back from the dead. But I didn't want to get Harrison's hopes up before I knew whether or not this was even theoretically possible. So I put out some feelers, and after a little bit of searching, I eventually found somebody with a deep understanding of the GBA Pokemon games. An anonymous Pokemon expert we'll call Gary. According to Gary, not only was he uniquely qualified to answer this, but there is basically no one on Earth who knows Gen 3 Pokemon data structures better than him. So I explained Harrison's situation to him and asked, could we possibly help bring Harrison's Blastoise back from the other side? Gary's answer? A resounding maybe. Gary explained that in layman's terms, the bad egg appears when a Pokemon's data is corrupted. The good news was that the Pokemon could just be very lightly corrupted, and the data could still be in there, but it shows as a bad egg regardless. The bad news is that because Harrison said he tried playing the game with the bad egg in his party and even tried hatching it, that could have messed with things further. In short, Gary's answer was inconclusive. He told me that this Blastoise could be salvageable, but it also could be damaged beyond repair, and the only way to know for sure would be to check the data on the cartridge ourselves, and that would mean getting our hands on it in person. So, I passed all of this information along to Harrison and explained that there was no guarantee that this would work, but if he was willing to try, I was willing to join him on that journey. And Harrison agreed. So, with this plan now fully in motion, I asked Gary what sort of hardware we would need to pull this off, and he pointed me towards this. An obscure little device known as the Joey Jr., a handmade cart dumper and flasher created by an Australian hobbyist named Ben Venn. I ordered this thing sight unseen with no understanding of how it would even work, and eventually it arrived. And meanwhile, Harrison booked a ticket and got on a flight to North Carolina in search of closure.
Cool.
Alrighty, so we're here meeting up with this kid Harrison. He flew all the way down to North Carolina to meet up and work on this. I've got this device here from Australia that is apparently the machine that will help us do this. I haven't even opened it yet. It feels very light. I'm a little worried, but I think it's in here. But I think we have all the ingredients except for Harrison. So let's go.
All right.
And
you know everything you need to know in order to be able to pull it off?
I don't know.
Oh, is it good to see you?
Thanks for coming all the way down here.
No, I have a pleasure. This is a lot of fun. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hey, great to meet you, Robert.
By the way, do you prefer Harrison or Harry?
Either works.
Oh,
Just get these out.
no problem.
This is the Game Boy and game in question.
Do you mind? May I?
Take it away.
Could we look at the egg now?
Yeah, sure.
That
Yeah,
would
booted
be
up before
great.
we left.
Yeah, let's take a look at the state of affairs here. I feel you.
You always, skill never goes away.
Was this your first Pokemon game?
This was my first Pokemon game. I was like really young when I got it, maybe like 5 years old or something little, like before parents would just give you the iPad and like make kids quiet that way. The Game Boy was the way to do it. That was literally the first cartridge I had. I played the thing to death. I was so hooked on this stuff. It was like a drug to me. Like I was on Pokemon like no one else. And I did something really stupid. When I was at my friend's house, I used one of the cheat codes and I did it wrong. And at like 7 years old, like this is like summer 2007, summer 2008, I tried to make my Blastoise really strong. And I gave it too many levels. And I've come to learn that creates a lot of problems, serious like data saving issues that causes the Pokemon basically to disappear and turn into this bad egg.
It is
Do you
weird.
remember, like, what you were feeling when you realized what had happened?
That was like a bad moment. I remember that vividly. Like,
How old were you?
I was like 7 or 8. Man, it was like one of those summertime days. You're just over at a friend's house and it's just like a pit in your heart. It's like, oh, like I really screwed up, and it's bad because you can't undo it either. And
Right.
Like it's like it's I think like you said, Icarus flying too close to the sun.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit too high, and it's like, man, I really screwed this up. Oh, here we go. Here's Bill.
Okay.
Yo.
What up, dog?
Hey, Bill.
Bill, have you known Harrison a long time?
Oh yeah, since like age 5. Like this Blastoise has been gone for a long time.
Who was the person whose action replay was involved in this?
I think it was mine, right? Game Shark, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
You were the man with the codes.
Oh my god.
Wow. So you probably have
forgot about that.
there's some personal guilt, hopefully, that we're able to assuage by fixing this. This
Exactly.
rift in your friendship can finally be healed
After all these years.
after all these years.
Yeah, it looks like an egg, and it's just kind of screwed up the whole way through. There's nothing you can do with it.
You said you
out.
tried everything. You tried hatching it, right?
I tried hatching it, but it gives you that big question mark.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking? It's like, and sometimes they're inverted, and it's just like really weird, and it's like feels like you've done something wrong. And I felt miserable about having killed my starter Pokemon from when I was 5 years old.
I think it's especially intense if you have this catastrophic thing happen when you're a child.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when you're playing it, it feels like the whole world kind of, I think, when you're a kid.
Very true.
And then you also don't have like the skills as a child to cope with like loss and things being disappointing. And so it just like, I think whenever that kind of stuff happens, it feels so like a life-changing
Totally.
experience.
I was bummed for weeks when I lost my blue version save. Losing all my most precious Pokemon. I just like, it was never really the same for me. I played the later ones. I enjoyed like Fire Red and Leaf Green and Diamond and Pearl, but it was never the same. So, and it's probably especially heartbreaking because like this generation of Pokemon, you could have theoretically like brought this same Blastoise with you all the way through the modern Pokemon games, and instead it's been trapped in this cartridge this whole time. So hopefully at the end of this process, you can like move it into Pokemon Bank or whatever.
I would definitely make the effort to get this thing into the cloud. I want it safe. I don't want to. I want to fix the issue.
Yeah.
And somewhere in some server, Nintendo is going to keep this thing safe for me.
That's right. I hope we can save. You know, I should probably have talked to like a veterinarian first to see like how you help brace somebody for like what if we can't save it, but you know, like
to have tried is sort of what counts here. Like this is the best. If it can't be done here, it's never going to be.
I'll do my best.
Yeah,
this is all uncharted territory for me also.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Step 1 was dumping the cartridge. In other words, we would be taking the contents of Harrison's years-old Pokemon game and copying it onto my computer hard drive so we could take a closer look and diagnose the problem. Luckily, I had brought exactly the right tool for the job. So do you know what's in this box?
I'm excited to find out, I'll tell you that.
Truthfully, so am I. I don't really know. This came from Australia, and it is... Apparently this is the sole device that exists that can help us with this. The guy I talked to when I hit him up, he was like, you reach out to one of the only people on the planet who is very experienced with this and can help you. And he's going to be kind of on call for this, so we have backup. He lives in like Sweden, but...
Wow, this is an international project.
They always end up being international for some reason. I don't know why.
Crazy we have the same like experience with that though.
I know. I wonder how many of us there are. How many people who have like a tragedy that befell them because they flew a little too close to the sun, Pokemon-wise. Okay.
Far too many.
This thing just looks like a damn circuit board.
Wow.
And it's got a USB-C port on it. Wild.
So this definitely goes in there.
I suspect so, yeah. I feel like a surgeon, you know? It feels like we're doing open heart surgery to save this Blastoise here, and these are all my tools. So here's this thing, it's called PK Hex. It is a Pokemon Core Series save editor, and I have it on good authority that this is exactly what we need. So we're gonna try. Cool.
It's like an operating table.
Dude, it really does feel like, I've thought about renting out like a hospital set or something just to really make it feel like we were doing surgery. Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
It just mounted. Here's all the contents of the cartridge. Like, I feel like once we've got the cart backed up, we can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief, you know?
It's nerve-wracking too because this is sort of outside the realm of things you're supposed to do.
For sure.
And that kind of stuff is exactly what caused it to get broken in the first place.
It's true. We could end up with like a real Full Metal Alchemist Chimera situation where your Blastoise is back, but it's just like begging for us to kill it.
Going from bad egg to worse egg.
Step 2 was to open up Harrison's copy of the game in this software called PK Hex. What PK Hex should do is let us manipulate the contents of this cartridge and hopefully save his Blastoise. Or at least, that was the plan. So there's an open option. Let's go leaf green.
Okay, there we go.
That looks looking right. Maybe I'm opening the wrong file. This could be caused by loading a different generation Pokemon file on an unsupported generation, or your file is corrupt. It's a bit of a scary error, but let me see if I can bring in this guy. Hey, you can hear us, right?
I can indeed.
Okay, cool. Which of these files ought we to be opening?
Flash.save.
Okay. Binary is not compatible with save file.
Binary is not compatible with save file. What? So what I believe might have happened is that the bad eggs are so bad that this this program is like, oh, no, I don't know what to do with this data. Oh, I don't know.
Whoa.
So what you should start by doing is first of all, boot this up in an emulator on here.
What do you recommend?
MGBA.
MGBA. Cool.
So change the name of flash.save to ron.save.
So they have the same name. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and then you open that. Oh! Now that's interesting. Is it a bad dump?
It could be a bad dump. This is when we started to get nervous, but according to Gary, there was no need to panic just yet. It was still possible that we had just mounted the cartridge incorrectly, and that remounting it and dumping the game over again could solve our woes. So we tried it, and once again, it didn't work. That's when Gary asked us to send him the data so he could take a closer look and figure out what the problem was.
I'm going to compare these real quick to see how big a difference we're talking about.
So the goal here is to see just how corrupted this ROM is.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe it's just a couple of bits, or maybe this is just nonsense. So yeah, we just got a bunch of zeros. The dump is bad.
Wow. So the red entries here are the ones that don't match with your totally clean, basic, normal ROM of leaf green? This was frustrating. This whole part of the process, dumping Harrison's game onto the PC and looking at the contents, this was supposed to be the easy part, and it was going disastrously. Wow. So what does that tell us exactly?
This tells you that something went wrong in the dumping process.
No matter how many times we mounted and remounted this game, the dumps kept coming out bad. It was beginning to feel like this rescue operation was over before it had even gotten a chance to begin. But it turns out our remote Pokemon expert had one more suggestion, and it was something so bizarre and counterintuitive to me and Harrison that we could hardly believe our ears.
Do you have any isopropanol or whatever it's called, isopropyl alcohol on hand?
No. There's maybe a bar in this hotel we could go to, get a shot of vodka or something.
Take the cartridge out, take some toilet paper, put some just regular old water on it, and like stick it in and try to wipe off the contacts as best you can, and then stick in a dry piece of toilet paper and wipe up all the water, and then try it.
All right. Sure. Okay. Sure thing. All right. I got some water, some napkins. We'll yank it out, and then just a teeny dab of... Whew. This feels wrong. I know this is not as dangerous as it feels, but like, water in a GBA cart feels really...
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It feels terrible. The thing is, what I've learned doing electronics is what water is dangerous is because it contains minerals that are conductive, which means that if you pour it on a device that is running, you'll cause a short, and that'll break things. But if you pour water on something that is off, no electricity is running through that, so it's actually fine.
All right, so we've wetted it, and now we're drying it.
We're now drying. We're gonna try to make this nice and like frilly, so it's better absorbent.
Nice.
Did you get any like gunk off there?
Not really.
Yeah, not really. Nothing visible.
All right.
It wouldn't take much. It's kind of hard to see.
All right, cool. We're safe to plug it in now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. All right. It's actually not showing up right now. I'll just like unplug. I think because I ejected it maybe. So I'll just. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, wait, hold on. So it's mounted. So
it's completely different.
Yeah, it's now showing these.
Now showing. Let's see here. Hey!
This is good news?
Yes, this is amazing. Which means that it's actually recognized the game as what it is. Which means you, my friend, have a successful dump on your hands.
What the hell? Okay, good. Dude.
That was whoa.
This is exciting. I'm trying not to get my hopes up. Like, but this seems very promising.
No, like this means that you got it.
With Harrison's childhood Pokemon game finally backed up safely on my laptop, we were feeling good. Sure, we still had quite a ways to go, but this was a crucial part of the process, and for a brief moment we allowed ourselves to revel in this small victory. Dude, that's huge. That's huge news.
I was like calm before this, and now like the heart rate's going.
Dude, this feels like a victory. Wow, the water trick worked. What would we do without you, dog? I'm so glad I was like, let me just see if he's available to check. Ooh, whoa, there she goes. Now, with Harrison's save file safely in hand, it was time to load it up in an emulator and see if we could jog any of his memories. All right, so should we pull it up in an emulator? Just
Yeah. Hey!
Holy moly.
This is good news.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah, you have 303 hours.
Yeah. Also, if you guys can't tell, like, there's only 7 characters for your
so
name,
romantic.
and Harrison is 8 characters long.
That's why you're Harriso.
Yeah.
You hadn't discovered being called Harry yet.
Yeah. Just take me on a roller coaster here.
This is indeed an emotional roller coaster. We got heck E exclamation mark question mark male female /.
Yes, this is like pre-spelling abilities. Pre-literacy.
You have a Nidoran female named ABCDEFGHI4.
I love that these names look like they've also been corrupted.
I know.
No, those are real. I remember the Hiki one pretty vividly.
I really like Mr. Slugma here.
Yeah.
This is like
Shading.
invasion of privacy.
No, this is like an in-game. No, this is what we're trying to archive here.
This needs to remain private information.
This is very
between
personal.
you and the
Yeah, I know.
Pokemon.
After we were done making fun of the names of Harrison's childhood Pokemon, we decided to continue our search, so I asked Harrison where he thought we could find the bad egg that used to contain his Blastoise. Alright, so would it be in your party?
It would be in the PC.
I see. So you kept playing after this happened to you as a kid. You just were like, I'll just put my favorite dead Pokemon in the PC. Is this where it is?
Oh, that's the Mewtwo that was in a Great Ball. That was like the biggest deal in the world when that happened.
You caught a Mewtwo in a Great Ball?
Yeah, that was like a big deal for at 7 years old. It was like, holy moly. Oh, there they are. There might be some others too.
Do you know which one is which? Do you think
I
you...
have no idea.
Interesting.
Alright. Yep, that's what you expect to find. Cool.
Yeah.
They're box 4, then we know.
Yeah.
right.
There might be some others in the other box.
Oh yeah?
1 or 2 more. Yeah, over there.
Oh, man,
never
yeah.
mind.
You got
They're
a
spreading.
half dozen bad eggs, dude.
Some of those are good.
Your game's so messed up, man.
I know, it's kind of sad. Yeah, that's like
Trip down memory lane, huh?
Especially since those are like deep memories. Like again, 7 years old. Like,
Right. That's intense.
Like a decade and a half ago.
I also lost my Pokemon Sapphire cartridge because my father sold it without asking me.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a sad
is-
story.
So we all have Pokemon tragedies, which is why we're also invested in solving this one. At this point, it seemed like we had our work cut out for us. All we had to do was load up Harrison's cartridge in this save editor, PKHex, and hopefully we'd be able to use that to look at the bad eggs and figure out which one contained Harrison's Blastoise. So should we load it up in the software here?
Yeah, do it.
We've got the copied dump here.
Not the copy. Open the one in the original.
I open the save file, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Fire red, leaf green, generation 3 save file detected. This is exciting. Holy shit.
Nice.
Interesting.
I'm liking this already.
Think about
So this was originally a Marowak named Bone Man.
That's bad.
Stop. You got
Let's see on that.
We're doing the paleontology now.
Yeah, you caught him on Victory Road.
Wow.
This is
So
sick.
let's go to one of the bad egg boxes.
It's the one with the Wobbuffet in it.
Oh my god. We got a Wobbuffet.
No, I think those are the ones that are alive. I think the eggs aren't showing.
Wait, really?
Yeah, and those top spots, I think there was at least 1 egg.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pull it up in an emulator so we can look at these side by side. All right, let's see here.
See what I'm talking about?
Yeah, look at that. So box 4, it's not showing the bad
No,
egg.
it's not showing the bad eggs at all.
What if I click is egg? There's a checkbox here called is egg. Oh, I'm changing the Pokemon into an egg?
Yeah. You can turn Pokemon into eggs. Okay, so it looks like PKHex simply ignores invalid Pokemon. So it looks like we won't be able to rely on it. Like, if no save editor ends up being able to do it, we're going to have to look at the raw bytes. Which thankfully, you have.
We have you, the only human being on Earth who would even know where to start with this.
Yeah, pretty much.
So this is our guy on the outside, like in the Matrix, the guy who like watches the numbers fall down.
Do you always look at it and code it?
Well, you have to. You get used to it. I don't even see the code.
So at this point, it's become abundantly clear that PK Hex isn't going to cut it. Harrison's corrupted Pokemon data straight up would not appear in the software, and that meant we would have to look at other solutions. That's when Gary suggests another piece of similar software called A-Save, a tool that he hoped might actually work for this.
Because the thing is, since we're doing something so weird, different software has different capabilities, so we might as well try one or two more different save editors.
I like that this music has been playing the entire time.
It's not as soothing as it usually is.
No, definitely not. I'm actually gonna mute this shit real quick.
Okay, storage. I think is
Storage.
probably something you wanna look at.
Box 1. Come on, cross your fingers, y'all. Box 2. Ooh!
Oh, snap.
Yeah. Wait, it's showing stuff that's like, there's a Persian here that's not showing up even as a bad egg. Look at that.
Yeah.
There's a Persian between the Abra and Bone Man.
So that thing's like really dead.
Yeah, that thing's ultra fucked up. Not only was A-Save showing us the bad eggs in Harrison's storage, it was showing us much more than we'd bargained for, including a smattering of glitched out Pokemon that were totally invisible on Harrison's cartridge. We've got an Morpurg Centret, not 1 cent. I don't know what that is. None of us knew exactly what these Pokemon were. Were they bits of data left over from Pokemon he'd released into the wild years ago? Or were these the spectral remnants of Pokemon Harrison had inadvertently corrupted out of existence when he was a kid? Let's just look at the bad eggs real quick. At any rate, our hope had been that A-Save would let us click edit on those bad eggs and that the data inside would help us figure out which one was his missing Pokemon.
Can we edit any of these?
This one's grayed out. This one's grayed out. Unfortunately though, when clicking on the bad eggs, the edit button was totally grayed out, which left us with one option: going through each and every Pokemon in Harrison's storage, dead or alive, looking for some sign of his long-lost Blastoise. Zinx, Machop, Meowth, Tauros, Weepinbell. I feel like I'm doing the Poke Rap right now. Deoxys, Unknown, Doduo, Tangela. Yeah, we're not seeing it.
By the way, can you send me the save file so I can start looking at the binary while you're looking in the GUI? Maybe we'll save some time that way.
Totally.
Opening it in a hex editor. So, here is the Bulbapedia page on the save data structure in Generation 3. A Bulbapedia article that I helped write. So...
Wow.
We got a real expert here.
Only this.
Here is the...
Having been completely unsuccessful thus far in pinpointing this supposed Blastoise, Gary decided it was time for him to wade into the ones and zeros himself. And he began looking for any shred of this Blastoise remaining anywhere on Harrison's cartridge. And while that might sound like a long shot, the approach he comes up with is actually extremely clever.
I mean, should we start by looking at the Hall of Fame? Because if I recall, Harrison, you said that you had finished the game with this Blastoise once?
Yes.
Okay.
Twice, I think, actually.
Then we can start by looking at the Hall of Fame because we know, based on that Blastoise will be found there. Here we have the Hall of Fame data. So as you can see here, the Hall of Fame consists of an array of 50 Pokemon teams that have been the champion. Oldest record first. And most likely, since Blastoise is your starter, I'm going to assume that Blastoise was in your team the first time you beat the Elite.
This was the Blastoise that carried him through the game.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you don't totally understand what he's doing in this next part, don't worry, neither did we. I'm just so excited to see how you're going to go from this wall of text to...
Yeah, so I will do a little bit of a bit mask.
Classic. That's what I would do too in this situation.
So what we're doing is we're masking out the bits of this number that contain the data we don't want and only looking at the part we do want. So, species 9! Do you know which Pokemon is number 9?
By heart.
Holy shit. Wait, in the Pokedex?
In
Well,
the
let's
Pokedex.
see here. We got Bulbasaur's number 1, Ivysaur, Venusaur, Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard, Squirtle, Wartortle, and then number 9 is Blastoise.
Yes!
So, this is the correct entry in the Hall of Fame.
This is the correct. He was the first Pokemon in your team, and I salute you for it. Or it. I don't know if it was he. It.
It's gonna be female.
Let's see what it was named, shall we?
I think it was no nickname, and it was a female Blastoise.
It was a female Blastoise, and it was not named. It was just named Blastoise.
I think that's right.
This is so awesome.
So, we have your Blastoise's personality value from which we can reconstruct things. And what remains is to see if we can find the bad egg that corresponds to it and maybe get even more information about it. Okay, so here we're going to need to get into some programming nonsense. We're going to need to look at a whole lot of just random nonsense and try to figure out what it means. Basically, we just need a quick little table to translate between Unicode and the character set found in the Pokemon games. We're just going to search through the raw bytes. We're going to use this table here to search for Blastoise.
So that would be BC, and then C, yeah.
And then BB, and then CD. And what we're doing here is we're telling the emulator how to translate these raw bytes into actual text that we can read.
You're looking at the entries inside an emulator right now in real time as you toggle through the boxes.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. This is nuts.
Is this going to be hexadecimal? Okay, so hex, bam. There we go.
Got more things open than I have fingers.
It's not in memory, which is interesting because that means it's probably not in your party.
Okay.
We're going to be searching for it as if it were a number and not text.
Can't believe it, like how this keeps doubling in sophistication and knowledge needed every 30 seconds.
So, let's look in your boxes real quick, and we'll see if we can find it. Not in box 3, not in box 4, not in box 5. Let's just freaking search the file for Blastoise. Bam. What?
What?
No way!
Wait, what'd you find?
The only occurrence of the string Blastoise in all of the save file is the Hall of Fame entry.
So the egg, was so possibly the egg was so badly corrupted that it didn't even have the name in it anymore. There's no...
Yeah, no, the nickname is gone. The thing is, if it's so badly corrupted that the nickname is gone, I am guessing that this also means that the rest of it is gone.
Now, it goes without saying that this wasn't what any of us wanted to hear, but according to Gary, it wasn't time to completely give up hope yet.
I cannot 100p guarantee that is the case. It's possible that we still have some vestige left of the Blastoise, but it will take a bit of programming to trawl through the save file and find that.
From there, Gary hopped off the call to focus on finding this Blastoise, and meanwhile, we took the chance to catch up Bill on what had happened so far.
So a lot of digging's been done?
The dude that is helping us with this is so beyond overqualified, it doesn't even make sense.
It's about 6 times more complex than you could ever imagine.
Yeah, I fully thought that this was going to be the type of video where knowledgeable people watch it and be like, that was easy, that wasn't that hard, why is he making such a big deal out of it? But there's irrefutable evidence in this that we've documented that this shit is psychotically complicated and that we could never have done it on our own.
Mm-hmm.
It looks fake. It looks like he's just like crawling through code and opening up like C++.
Manually like going through and figuring out what the specific like ASCII codes for Japanese characters are and then typing them into a hex editor type of thing. Like
and then reading hexadecimal like it's the Matrix coming down on the screen, Bill.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's really intense.
Yeah, so we're about to check in with the guy who's been helping us out and see what he's been up to for the past few minutes. Let's see here. Holy shit.
Wait, what?
Robert, hold on.
Robert,
We've got some news. He said 7 minutes ago, we like moved locations. He said, I found it. The last bad egg in box 4 is the Blastoise. We gotta get him on the board right now.
Okay, Bill, like, I gotta show you this really quickly. It's literally a Discord thing, all caps, I found it.
Oh my god. Hello.
Yo, dude, we just like switched locations and opened the laptop and saw an all caps message from you saying, I found it.
I found it!
Dude, you found it. This is nutty.
So I made actually this PC program that takes a Pokemon from either Generation 2 or Generation 3 and converts it to the format of the other generation. But as a side effect, this program also decrypts everything and prints it out to the console so you can inspect the Pokemon and see what it is.
Okay.
So, just happened to have this, not something that literally anyone else has since, it's living on my hard drive.
This software that ultimately was instrumental in us saving this is a piece of software you wrote that you have not released or distributed.
Yes, exactly.
Dude.
Not something that is publicly released.
Oh my
It's just
God.
something I happened to write in 2015,
Oh my god. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So let's we've got trainer Hariso, nature mild, female, not shiny, we knew that. Anything else jump out?
Here's the problem.
Oh.
Yeah, so here's the problem. I found the Blastoise. It is the last bad egg in box 4. And I can now tell what the heck is wrong with it.
What's wrong with it?
The encrypted data section is completely and entirely corrupted.
Okay, so like that's why this printout on the side here that says errored. It's the species index was wrong, the attached item and the 4 moves, all those are errored out too. Which is why we didn't find it when we searched for Blastoise, because the species was errored. So, but correct me if I'm wrong, these are all things that are easy to fix, because it's all data that we have elsewhere or we know from your memory, right?
Yes, a couple of things will be a little bit tricky. Well, I say a little bit tricky, but I mean largely impossible. And that is the EVs and the IVs. We have all the stats for the Pokemon that are inherent and immutable.
Nice. Cool.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we, right now with finding the Blastoise, are you talking about recovering the original Blastoise, or are you talking about recreating it from
What has happened here is that we found the exact egg that had the original in it, and so between the recoverable data from that and the data that we have in the Hall of Fame, this will be basically indistinguishable from the original, short a couple statistics that are not fixed anyway. There are ethical questions being raised by what we're doing here today.
What happens to identity? What happens to personality?
We live in an era of breathtaking scientific discovery.
At a certain point, this Blastoise will be indistinguishable from the original Blastoise.
Imagine a world where death could be cheated.
Is it the same? That is up to your philosophy.
Right.
The ship of Theseus.
The ship of Theseus.
It'll be done for emotional reasons. It'll be done to offset some pathological grief mechanism that thinks that somehow we will be able to recover the identity just because we recover the genetic profile.
The way I see it
is sort of like a Jurassic Park situation. We are sort of cloning this Blastoise because there are some things about it that we don't know. Are those things important? Not really.
I believe this whole business is horribly unethical.
But that's for later generations to deal with. That's not our problem. If you replace one bite in a Blastoise, like over the course of 17 years or whatever, is it still the same Blastoise at the end of it?
Yeah, the Blastoise of Theseus, of course.
The clone isn't really entirely a clone. The clone shall inherit the world.
It looks like all our hard work is finally paying off.
It's kind of like the teleporter paradox, if anything.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
If the Blastoise is 100% identical.
And the original one is destroyed.
Blastoise.
Any technology has its good side and its bad side.
I'm struck by looking at like this document you have open from Bulbapedia that I think you co-wrote, where it's talking about the substructure order and the growth, attacks, EVs, and conditions, and the different, like, GAEM, GAME, GEAM, GEMA, all the different variations, and how much it looks like just Gattaca-ass human DNA.
Cloning, once thought of as wild science fiction fantasy, has now become a reality.
It puts so much power into our hands.
We got A's, T's, and G's in here.
Yeah, like, this is like, there are ethical questions.
Well, that's not for us to do. That's for a higher power. That's for God.
What we're doing now is you are firing up PK Hex, and we're editing this bad egg. We're whipping it back into shape.
All right, be careful playing God here, Nick.
Yeah. So I suspect by now you know what NordVPN does. Hell, by now you've probably seen other NordVPN ads on YouTube that start with somebody saying, by now you know what NordVPN does, perhaps on this very YouTube channel. But the reality is NordVPN is useful for way more than what you might think. Yes, there's the obvious stuff, anonymized web surfing through any of their thousands of ultra-fast servers, but I've used NordVPN for way more than that. Things like buying games that aren't available in my country, or watching Japan-exclusive Netflix shows months before they release in the United States. In fact, I even used NordVPN to safely and privately obtain some of the footage used in this video that you're watching right now. There are way more uses for NordVPN than I have time to list here, but luckily, you can head to nordvpn.com/NickRobinson for a full list of the benefits and use coupon code NickRobinson to get an exclusive discount on your membership. That's nordvpn.com/NickRobinson, coupon code NickRobinson. Alright, so we've got the save file loaded into PK Hex. Oh wait, can you select the bad egg in this software? Or do we just create a new Pokemon? What's the...
Create it in the slot where the bad egg was.
Interesting. This feels very Full Metal Alchemist. I feel like we're making a chimera right now of his original Blastoise.
Right beneath the Abra. Now what we're going to do is we are going to fill in these boxes on the left. Okay, so first of all, change the species to Blastoise. That's very first. Then copy the number that I sent you. This is the number that I extracted from both the Hall of Fame data and the corrupted bad egg.
This is a personality. I've got your Blastoise's soul on my clipboard right now, dude. As soon as I drop that in, it's put in the nature field that it's a mild Blastoise, that it's a female Blastoise, that its ability was Torrent. So this is your Blastoise. This is so sick.
Okay, so I'm gonna do another bit mask real quick.
No clue what that means, but I trust you.
Yeah, it's a classic program.
You and I are on the same page.
It's like a sci-fi movie. I'm like, English, damn it! English!
Here's the calculation I did to figure out the level. It is level 89. Wow, that's a high level Blastoise, my man.
But yeah, it is really funny that you wanted more levels.
I probably had more than 11 rare candies, didn't
All right, so your Blastoise had 735,000 experience when you beat the Elite Four, and then you added on top of that 2.1 billion to reach a grand total of 2.2 billion experience. So, level 89, species, nickname, nature, ability, friendship, met in Pallet Town in Leaf Green, level 5, Pokeball, All the stats are here. Should we just do random IVs and EVs?
Yeah, do it.
Would you like to do the honors? Just click it a few times?
Look at that, they're all 31.
Well, what an amazing roll.
That's a good one right there.
You'll stop at 3 stars. Do we need to put in any contest stats?
I don't think we would have ever done a contest.
I see.
So that's
Yeah,
accurate.
you don't strike me as a contest type.
When you have the Pokemon having nothing but attacks, not really a contest type.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, you remember what the 4 attacks were, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Name them.
Hydro Cannon, Hydro Pump, Surf, and Skull Bash, yeah.
Amazing.
Whatever the 2-turn.
Yeah. Wait. One thing, real quick. There's a little bit of an exclamation mark at the top there. Can you click that?
Invalid encounter type PID mismatch. So
let me look at what that means, because this is something I've never heard of. Oh.
What's up?
Oh no. Well, this is freaking annoying. This is something I haven't looked into before. So it turns out that it looks like there's a certain relationship between the personality and the IVs that's like dependent on the exact random seed algorithm they used or whatever that the legality checker actually checks, maybe?
Okay. Well, I'm glad that it's warning us, because the reason we're jumping through all these hoops to get all this stuff perfect is so this will be considered a legal Pokemon by contemporary Pokemon game standards, and it will let us move it all the way into the future.
I would definitely make the effort to get this thing into the cloud. I want it safe.
So does that mean we could find out the correct combination?
Yeah, how do we
backwards?
Has that been reverse engineered?
Maybe. I'm looking into it right now.
Can I just click randomize IVs in the meantime until that exclamation mark goes away?
It seems extremely unlikely that will happen. It's only IVs, not EVs, but yeah, try it. Why not?
Alright, I'll just keep gently clicking. It'll be hopefully somebody watching this video can tell us the exact likelihood that this would work.
Yeah.
Just so we know how much we're wasting our
Would that be 32 to the 6th there?
Does that mean that you just won't be able to bring it forward into future games?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, probably. You'll be able to bring it as far as Generation 5, but probably Bank will stop it.
Okay. Noted. Frankly, this was a tough setback. On the one hand, we'd recovered nearly everything about Harrison's original Blastoise, and that was great. But without knowing her original IV stats, there'd be no way for Harrison to bring her forward into the modern Pokemon games, and I could tell Harrison was a little disappointed by that. Sure, we'd mostly succeeded in recreating this Blastoise, but that success was starting to feel like something of a Pyrrhic victory. I didn't want to admit it, but I was beginning to doubt whether this even counted as resurrecting the same creature. After all, if the newer Pokemon games would reject this Blastoise for not being a legitimate Pokemon, could we honestly even claim we brought her back?
Can I just take this real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, before we finish up.
Yeah. To make matters worse, Harrison's flight back home was fast approaching, meaning we were almost out of time. My instinct is that it'll be less stressful for you if we either find you a new flight or you fly tomorrow?
I have an employee that's just might be quitting, so I kind of.
Oh God! Okay.
So it's ooh. Yeah, Bill, I'm dealing with a flight stuff too now. So now there's a time crunch. I'll say this we're getting to the end of the anesthesia on the operating table type of thing.
Because the patient is waking up.
It's going on. It's wearing off quick.
Yo, there's some cheap ass flights.
Oh my God! We found the IVs!
What?
There's only one set of IVs that actually corresponds to this personality value.
Wait. Let me.
Bill, do you hear that?
That's insane.
That's the last piece of the puzzle.
Oh my.
Yes.
Hold on.
That's the last thing that makes this Blastoise who it is.
So hold on. I've got dude. So it's this software RNG reporter that you sent me, right?
Yeah, RNG reporting,
Bro.
And then that's not, copy that. Open 3rd gen tools, and then PID to IVs.
I can't believe this exists. Shout out to Pokemon fans, dude.
Holy crap.
This shit's crazy. I think I might have to manually type it in. A9DF7A1B. Generate. So,
Method 2 and 4 are only used for wild Pokemon, which means that the only method that could have been used is Method 1.
got it. So, let's type these in. 5, 9, 5, 9, 17, 25, 31, 31. 5, 9, 17, 25, 31, 31.
Click the exclamation mark one time.
Legal! Legal! Bill, look at
the
this.
greatest pop-up I've ever seen.
Legal! Oh my god.
Legal.
Oh my goodness.
Alert. Legal. Let's go. Alright, so we'll go back to the box, right? And right where the corrupted egg is, we're gonna right click on it. You wanna click set here real quick?
Absolutely.
Alright. So now
We just did it, Bill.
we've done it. Now last step is to get it on the cartridge, right?
Yep. And so what you do now is just save this save file and transfer it on over.
We're clicking save. Alright, it's saved.
All you gotta do is pop it in the console.
Let's find out. Oh boy. Alright, I'm going to eject it.
Home. Bill knows how long this has been in the works.
This is crazy.
This is kind of insane here.
Alright, it's been ejected.
Okay, we got the original hardware over here. We'll pop that out. Here we go, good luck. Oh, you do it again.
Of course.
You have to put it in one time, then
It always takes at least one try.
that's stuck. That's not good.
What?
The power switch is now stuck.
I played the thing to death until the buttons wore out on my Game Boy.
I can't have anything easy.
On the SP, huh?
Yeah. Well, that's why I brought a spare.
Dude.
I thought way ahead.
She's coming home.
She's coming home.
This Blastoise, it's been gone for a long time.
This rift in your friendship can finally be healed.
After all these years.
After all these years. I'm so excited about this.
This cartridge has been sitting around, both physically in my little Game Boy drawer, and also it's been sitting around the back of my head for literally 15 years.
This whole process has been an emotional roller coaster.
This is 15 years in the making, Bill.
All right, let's see. Continue.
Yeah, let's get through. Buzz through this. There's no time to wait here. Bill, I can't, this has been overwhelming to watch. This is like a kind of nuts journey here.
Oh, dear God. Here we go. Boot up the PC. Bill's PC. Not you, Bill.
Wrong Bill.
Move Pokemon. Oh my goodness.
We struggled to successfully clone a Pokemon to prove our theories, but you're the first specimen to survive.
Dude, there she is.
And she's back.
She's back.
She's home, baby.
She's home.
I'm coming here. Congrats.
This is fantastic.
Congrats.
This is insane. This is nuts. This should not have been possible. Thank you. We're back. We're back, Bill.
Dude, there she is. She's back in slot 1.
Right where she needs to be.
Let's take a look at her, dude. Look at your the summary screen.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's look at your party. Yeah, Pokemon. Let's hear her cry. Mild nature, met in Pallet Town. How many years ago?
This is literally 2006 here.
Dude, fucking congrats, man.
Thank you, man.
We've brought her back to life.
This is unbelievable.
I can't believe we did it, like, just before your flight.
Just before my flight, I'm panicking over the details.
Yeah.
And he's like, I found the IVs.
Yeah. Literally,
That's
as you're, like, on the
insane.
phone with the airline trying to resolve this.
Bill, let me give you a good look over here.
Yeah, show him the goods.
Can't wait.
Here you go, Bill. And I'll just...
Oh my goodness.
And we're going back. Look at that, Bill.
Doesn't look a day over 15.
Dang.
Yo. Wow.
Sweet, dude.
This must be how it feels to save a life.
Yeah, I know, right?
Incredible. Damn, dude. Congrats, though. This is really cool.
I've never seen anything like this. This has been in the back of my head literally since I was 7 years old.
You were like, what if there's a way?
What if there's a way?
Like, what if this egg, like, what if this data still has some worth?
Yeah. Bill knows I don't forget things, and this has literally been in my head for 15 years.
Do you feel relieved?
Absolutely. Like, this shouldn't have, like, how the hell is this possible?
It's insane. And the fact that we had just all the right assistants, all the right tools, all the right hardware, it feels like a miracle.
Thank you very much, Hariso. Actually, you know what? Sorry, I'm calling you your actual name. Thank you very much, Hariso.
That's fine by me.
This has been great.
Yeah, thank you. You're kind of the hero behind the scenes.
It's very true.
You're like Oz.
Thanks so much, dog.
Yes, thank you.
Bye. Amazing. Well, Harrison, it was great meeting you. Thanks for coming out. Take good care of her. It's not often you get to reconnect with a long deceased pet.
Oh, I know, right? Oh, I'm going to save very carefully.
Yeah, you saving the game?
Oh, saving the game.
Incredible.
Oh, it's okay to overwrite it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You hear that noise, Bill? It's saved. We're good.
Oh, baby.
We're good.
Done deal.
Powered off.
It is both saved and it is saved.
In every sense of the word. And with that, Harrison hurried off to catch his flight home, and each of us parted ways, satisfied by a job well done. Fast forward to today, it's about 24 hours before this video comes out, and I shoot Harrison a text letting him know that it's finally finished. This was his reply. If I haven't thanked you enough, thank you again for all this effort. There was a hole in my stomach for 15 years from this mistake. I know you understand personally how such an inconsequential thing can be so absurdly meaningful. Putting this all back together was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I owe you one, man. Thanks, of course, to Harry for reaching out with this idea, to Scout, our phenomenal animator, for the illustrated segment at the beginning. Thank you to Gary, of course, for his irreplaceable assistance in getting this done. Thank you to my brother Robert for helping film. Thank you to my friend Ryan for helping edit this whole monstrosity. We've been working on this for over 3 months now, and I'm really glad it's done. And thank you for watching. If you'd like to support more high-effort videos like this, please click the join button under this video. It's the best way to support the channel, and you get a bunch of bonus content as well. And yeah, see you next time.
Trinkets. I'll be taking that.